keep watching. It's inevitable. In my mind, I'm going to be in the UFC in this next year. So I think now is the time. If you're a fan or somebody that is in love with fighting, I'm one of the guys that I think is going to be the next wave of just up and coming prospects to really just. Bring my presence and my abilities to the cage and just offer just my own flair, Warverine brands.
From MMA Island. Christopher de Santiago with MMA Island. Today I'm talking to top prospect Logan Paxton, who picked up his eighth straight finish at Anthony Pettis FC last month. Logan, how's it going today, man?
Good, brother. Thanks for having me on.
I gotta ask, what were the emotions like after picking up your eighth straight finish now at APFC?
Yeah, no, I think that, yeah, like you said, that's my eighth straight finish in a row. I've definitely been just fighting as much as possible and getting these victories, and it always feels better when it's on a bigger platform, bigger stage. So these last two in particular have been extra special. Fighting for Anthony Pettis Fighting Championship, having the more eyes on me, the bigger stakes, and being able to put both of my last opponents away in the first and second round. It's been pretty special, and now I'm excited. I get to celebrate and enjoy the holidays.
Does anything else compare to knocking somebody out? Because I mean, you were really ecstatic after the finish.
Yeah, man. So I mean, that was honestly one of my cleanest knockouts. I've had a lot of TKOs where I've dropped guys and then some ground and pound. But I like you said, this one was a little bit extra special because it seemed a little bit surreal in the moment because I looked in the right hand. I knew it connected, but it was almost that split second when I saw him drop. It was almost a little bit surprising because I'm telling you, when you hit that button, when it connects just perfect timing on the jaw, it felt like I hit air. I didn't even feel it. So it almost surprised me a little bit with that timing that he was falling down. And but then I was like, oh shit, he's falling, and then I immediately capitalized on it and got the victory.
And you didn't have a full camp for this opponent, right? This was on short notice?
To a degree. So I didn't have a full camp for that specific opponent, but me and my team and like I work with Anthony Pettis's management company, Showtime. So I did know that I was one of the guys slotted to fight on this card. But like you just referenced earlier, with my 8 fight win streak, and with me just dominating guys and getting these finishes, it's getting harder and harder to find fights. My manager Sergio Pinheiro, I think he told me afterwards, he was like, bro, you don't even know how many guys I reached up. There were hundreds. And just for one reason or another, they just no one wanted to fight you. And, fair, but it's just getting harder and harder. So I keep happening to get these short notice fights, but I stay ready. So the only hard part's the weight cut. The weight cut was a little tough this time.
And it's a really cool knockout to see, and it's very clean, very clean. 3-0 in 2025. I guess can you reflect on the year that you've had and the strides that you have made in the training room?
Yeah. Like I said, it's been a great year. Fought 3 times, twice on Fight Pass, and then all 3 finishes. I actually picked up my first belt at the beginning of the year too for Solid as Rock FC in Alaska. They've been really good to me, so it was really cool to start off the year, get a belt, and then just keep that momentum going. I tried to fight 2 more times. It would have been 5 times. If you look at my Tapology, I had 2 canceled bouts because the guys pulled out literally on weigh-in day or just on the fight week. So I was trying to stay as active as possible. And I credit that to my wrestling background. I come from Division 1 wrestling to where we're competing every weekend, and at a certain point, I adopted that philosophy for my fighting. It's like, hey, if I'm healthy and I'm getting these finishes, there's no reason why I shouldn't be fighting every other month. And so that's kind of the philosophy I've adopted, is that this is my job. I really do love it. Like, I have so much fun being in the cage and fighting guys. So I want to do it as much as possible. And it has just with the year coming to a close, I've just been nothing but blessed and having a great time.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, why are people saying no to you, or why are people pulling out fights with you? But you just mentioned the wrestling background, and then you have the knockout power. So, I mean, that kind of explains itself, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's funny, even this last fight, I wanted to make a statement. In the first like 10 seconds, I actually just instinctively saw the opening and I shot in on him. And I was deep on a double leg. But then I had to remind myself, no, like that's not how, I gotta I want to win by the knockout, the impressive performance, because I know Dana White, the Sean Shelby's, that's what they're looking for. But it's nice to know that I always have that in my back pocket and I could have took him down if I wanted to.
Did you get any pointers from Gable Steveson?
No, no. He was pretty locked in the back, so I figured I'd let him do his thing. I didn't go up and talk to him at all, but the mutual respect is definitely there, having both come from Division One. But I do know he's reached the echelon of the sport, and he's doing big things. It was pretty cool though that even my coach noticed it. Our knockouts were very similar. In their approach and the stance, like his was a left hook, mine was a cross, right cross, but we both, were in the low stance through the power punch, and then immediately we're kind of going in for the takedown, and but then our guys were falling down.
Yeah, what was your reaction to his knockout? Because I mean, he knocked him down, and as he was going down, he goes for the takedown. I mean, that's pretty crazy.
Bro, it was slick, and that crack. I was in the VIP section, just watching backstage, and you could hear that crack. Like it was just like a tree branch breaking, and then to see the guy go stiff, and then him double leg him, it was pretty spectacular. So it was pretty cool to be in that environment with some heavy hitters like Gable Steveson. And even though I'm not a big follower of wing C, it was fun just to see the theatrics and get a bunch of eyes on the show and stuff like that. APFC, man, they're doing big things. And I'm super glad to be a part of their company.
There was a lot of fighters in the building. I saw John Dodson, Demetrius Johnson, and Holly Holm were like cage side. Did you meet any fighters that fight week?
Yeah, so so my buddy John Kuhneman, he used to train Albuquerque, so he has a bunch of the ties with those guys. So I met like Carlos Condit, I met Demetrius Johnson, super just
Nice.
humble, just cool guys. I didn't meet Holly. I did meet Sergio Pettis because he's also the brother of Anthony. So it was cool just to be in that environment, and it really just felt just like a good place to be with the mix of these up and coming prospects like myself and Gable Steveson, and then all the legends in the building with the just it's kind of just seemed like almost the turning of the tide, the changing of the guard. We have all these legends in the building, but we have these new legends in the making, and I would like to count myself among them one day.
When did you start watching MMA?
I was a little late to the game, so I didn't have much of a prowess for MMA until about my sophomore year of high school. I was about around 15, and simultaneously I just joined wrestling for the first time. So I was a little late to the party with kind of it all. I was just a big sports fan, basketball, baseball, football, played them all. But then I had some buddies who wrestled in high school, and they kind of turned me on to wrestling, and I fell in love with it immediately. As a sophomore in high school, I was like, oh my God, I could do this for like fun for a sport. I'd never even heard of it. And I was naturally just kind of good at it because I grew up with two older brothers and wrestling them. And then that same year, some of the guys on the team, they loved watching MMA. So I'd go over to their house on the weekends. We would have these big MMA parties. And that was all she wrote. I was like, yep, I'm doing that one day. I was like, I'm going to wrestle. I'm going to go as far as I can because I really just intrinsically loved it. But I was like, yeah, one day I'll be in that cage.
Mm. I guess did the sophomore you ever think like obviously you're coming from that wrestling background, but did you ever think like you would have the power to knock out people left and right? Because I mean, you're collecting a trail of bodies right now, Logan.
Yeah, thank you, brother. No, I appreciate the support, but I had an inclination just because even when I used to play basketball, that was my first sport, and even as a young kid in basketball, I was known for my ability to pass the ball, and I like to kind of like take the ball down the court and just launch it across the room and kind of get that ball to people way down court. They used to call me the cannon even when I first started playing basketball because I just had a really good ability just to chuck that ball. So I always kind of thought, I was a strong, kind of, powerful, athletic kid. And so it's pretty nice to see that come into fruition through fighting because, like you said, I do have the wrestling background. So not to have to rely on just that, way to finish fights, it's pretty cool. And I think it just makes me the most well-rounded fighter.
You mentioned a nickname there. I got to ask, how did you get the nickname of Warverine?
Yeah, so it's it's kind of funny because obviously my name's Logan, so there's always been that tie of the Wolverine and just Logan through the X-Men, and I obviously best X-Men unbiased, but I've always just had that that like towards him. Um, but when I first started training fighting, it was just kind of funny. People would just call me Wolverine. They're just all the time. I'd be like, oh, what's up, Wolverine? And even when I joined Team Elevation out here, that kind of became a nickname with the team. They just call me Wolverine. And I kind of maybe I look like him, I don't know, but I thought it was cool. But I also like I didn't love that it wasn't my own moniker. It was something that already existed, and that's cool. But I've always liked the idea of being my own person and kind of like being my own larger than life character. And so I kind of started playing with the name a little bit. I was like, I was just sitting at home one day and I was thinking about it. And I was just saying Wolverine out loud, and I was like, Wolverine, Warverine, and I was like, oh, that sounds kind of badass. And I kept just saying it, and then eventually for my when I made my pro or my second fight, I changed my nickname to the Wolverine, and it stuck. And, usually they say you can't name yourself because it's kind of corny, but it stuck right away. Everyone at the gym started immediately calling me Wolverine, and now to this day, I still have fans and people. They love the nickname, so I think it's really become a staple in my overall brand and just my fighting style, because I definitely have that pressure style where I just want to be in someone's face and make it a fight.
Yeah, I'm big into Marvel movies. Wolverine, I got this right here. It's like
Yeah,
from the, I
heck
think
yeah.
Days of Future Past or something.
Oh
But
yeah, no, I
I'll
remember
leave it
that.
right here. Yeah, so yeah, Daredevil's always been my favorite superhero, but I think Wolverine's like a close second.
Yeah, no, both sick. I watched the Daredevil movies and stuff like that, and he's a really cool one too. But always just have had that likeness towards the Wolverine.
hmm I gotta ask, where did you get your chest tattoo? And I see like it's a lion, and then there's like a lot of hands like around it. What was the inspiration behind that tattoo?
Yeah, so I got that. When I was how old? I was probably I was 21. That's when I got my first tattoo. It was going to my last year at wrestling for North Dakota State, and I kind of had the inspiration. I'm deep into anime. That's one of my inspirations for even being a fighter in the first place, and I that's probably kind of most of all I watch. So I'll say that tattoo has some heavy anime inspiration from the show Full Metal Alchemist.
Okay,
Um,
I've seen that.
so
Yeah, I've seen a little
that's
bit of it.
okay. So that's one of the greats, and it has a tie of just the hands that are all around. There's seven hands, kind of just like it's just kind of about like with the lion itself, like we all know the lion's the king of the jungle and all that stuff, but then there's a crown on its head, and the hands are taking the crown off, and then also have a knife at its throat. So in my mind, it's like, okay, even when life is kind of the hands taking stuff from you, and all these things, like no matter what happens in life, even if the without the crown, without stripped down to nothing, the lion's still the king. Like it's just something intrinsic about that animal. It's just almost a way of nature for it. So it's kind of my way of like, at the end of the day, no matter what, I believe in myself and I know what I am.
For sure, Logan. And you're on a 9 fight win streak now. I guess what do you want next? And I guess what are some of your goals for 2026?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, 10-1. To my record, I have nine finishes. So I think I am exactly what the UFC is looking for, and I believe that I belong among the UFC roster. I've been calling for it for a while. I think with this last fight, I definitely submitted my case. I'm here not to get decisions. I want finishes, and that's just my style of fighting. If I don't finish people, I think then I would be hard on myself that I didn't live up to my full potential. So with that, with my style, with everything that's going on, I think UFC is next for me. I know the time of year. There's also contender series, different ways in, but I'm ready for short notice. I've fought in at three different weight classes, so I'm ready to fight kind of anyone, anytime. Um, and so definitely in my mind, I want the UFC. if I have to wait a little while, because to me it's only a matter of time. And if the UFC comes later on and I have to go through the contender series, then in the meantime, I still do want to stay active because I think I'm the best when I'm active, and success breeds success. So I think by March, I know there's another APFC card in Albuquerque, and I'm really becoming a fan favorite there. I've got a lot of fans reaching out to me and saying how much they love to see me fight in Albuquerque. So that feels kind of special. I'm also the number one ranked lightweight in New Mexico now, so I think it'd be cool to go out there and I want the title. I don't know if that's going to line up, but I think something big, definitely something big. I want to fight for a title for, like I said, the Anthony Pettis A1 Combat. I'd fight their champion, get that title at lightweight. Yeah, just something that moves me up that ladder just a little bit more again. And I'm eager because I took no damage in that last fight, so I'm ready to get back after it.
Mhm. And last question, I forgot to ask you, what's your favorite anime?
Full Metal Alchemist is definitely up there. I think if I had to go number one of all time, it's got to be Berserk. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's definitely kind of like a dark fantasy. It's definitely probably one of the darkest animes there is, but it has that dark fantasy, demonic kind of thing going on. But it's just a classic, and it's one of the best.
Yeah, I thought Full Metal Alchemist was pretty dark too because there's like
Yep.
in the first season there's that girl who becomes like
The dog.
intertwined with the dog and
Yeah.
like after that I was like okay this is a little
Dude.
much for me.
Yeah, yeah, they hit you with that right away to where you're like, oh man, I don't know how to feel about this. But that's what makes it so good too, that they're not afraid to explore those dark themes of humanity. And I would say Berserk's like that, but it takes it to a whole nother level. Actually, have you ever seen Berserk by chance?
No. So like honestly, I've seen like maybe 5 or 6 animes. Attack on Titan, One Punch Man's probably my favorite.
Okay.
Um, Naruto, a little bit of Naruto, like 5 seasons of Naruto. I haven't watched Dragon Ball Z.
Oh man, Dragon Ball Z was the first one when I was a little kid. Just I wanted to go Super Saiyan so bad, but now I'm getting close.
Awesome, Logan. Well, I think that's all the questions I had for you today, man. I just want to thank you again for the time. Do you have anything to say to the Warverine fans?
Yeah, just keep watching. It's inevitable. In my mind, I'm going to be in the UFC in this next year, so I think now is the time. If you're a fan or somebody that is in love with fighting, I'm one of the guys that I think is going to be the next wave of just up and coming prospects to really just uh, bring my presence and my abilities to the cage and just offer just my own flair, Wolverine brand. So I think now's the time to jump on. It's we're going full steam ahead.